Okay, sit, things around. Sit yourself at your. We're going to do some pranayama this morning, so we're going to start slightly differently. Have warm things around if your house is a little chilly. So I'm just using extra blanket on top of my mat as I would do for restorative yoga, but we're not doing restorative yoga, we're going to do pranayama. We're going to start off in Baddha. So just come down onto your back and just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine, just observing how your back feels right now. Just listening to the sound of the breath. Get hold of the outside edge of your feet in happy baby and do the same. Just rocking from side to side, maybe from top to bottom. Just feeling that you can really find your back on the floor. And then bring your feet in towards each other. Let the knees fall apart and bring yourself down onto the floor. In Supta Baddha, so the soles of the feet are together, the knees fall apart. If you feel like your head is rolling back, then have a blanket underneath your head, a folded blanket underneath your head, just to give you some additional support. Have the arms just on the floor, palms facing upwards, resting on the middle knuckle. If there's discomfort in your hips, then support your hips with some blocks. And just focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations, listening to the breath. Just observe the sensation of lifting the chest as you inhale, observing the chest lifting upwards and outwards as you inhale. And how the intercostal muscles between the ribs relax as you exhale. Breathe from the bottom of the lungs to the top. Just listening to the sound of the breath. As you inhale and exhale. Consciously inhale from the bottom of the lungs to the top. And exhale from the top of the lungs to the bottom. Consciously inhale into both lungs evenly. And exhaling from both lungs evenly, correcting it if that doesn't happen. Just focusing on the inflation and deflation of the lungs. Bring your hands onto your lower ribs. Just feel the expansion and contraction of the lungs. Just enjoy the sensations of filling the lungs and emptying them. The breath is our most valuable of assets that we have in our lives. Because without the breath, there is no life. We can survive a few weeks, perhaps without food, maybe not so long without water, but it can last a minute maximum probably without oxygen. So every inhalation marks the prolongation of our existence on the planet. So savor every inhalation. Observe how it clears the mind. Observe how the breath brings energy and vitality into the lining of the lungs. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance as you just return your attention back to the breath if you allowed it to detract from the breath. Just observe how focusing on just something within your general scope of existence, how focusing on just something positive about it, however small or seemingly insignificant, gives you a feeling of well-being beyond that which is going on around you. So we have the key to our positivity inside us, just by valuing the breath, by dwelling on the small things in life that are really the big things, and the seemingly big things that are beyond our control are just feedback in the distance. If we can just bring our own experience into the realms of possibility and positivity, then we have won the game of life, because we hold the key to our own positive existence. Just hold on to that feeling of positive abundance in the heart area, and then draw your knees towards each other. Just have the knees together and the feet apart for a moment, just to rest the hips. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have another little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then roll onto your right side, straighten out the top leg, and then come up into a seated position. So just sit in cross legs for a moment, just observing how you feel in terms of your balance. If you feel that you drop in your chest when you sit directly on the floor, then have a lift to sit on. Just observe how the seat bones make contact with the floor. Just observe how your skin makes contact with the ground. How your skin makes contact with the air that surrounds us. Just acknowledging that the air around us is the universal energy that sustains us, the universal energy that is the key to positive thinking. Bring in that positive energy into the chest. So continue to observe the breath, just listening to the sound of the breath, feeling the breath as your lungs inflate and your chest rises upwards and outwards. Aim to make the chest non-resistant. Because non-resistant breath is more receptive to the energy within each inhalation. Just draw your chin forwards and down to meet your chest, maintaining the focus on the breath. Lifting the chest up to meet the chin. And then raise the chin to the ceiling. Feeling the stretch at the top of the neck, drawing your shoulders away from your ears. After your next inhalation, bring the chin down with the exhalation. Continuing the focus on the breath. After the next full inhalation, raise the chin to the ceiling with the exhalation. And then bring the chin back to the centre with an exhalation. Take an inhalation, and with an exhalation, draw your right ear over to the right shoulder, but keeping the right shoulder away from the ear, just stretching out the right side of the neck. Just maintaining that flow of inhalation and exhalation. Observing the way that the lungs respond to the breath. On an exhalation, come back to the centre and over to the left. Left ear to left shoulder. With an exhalation, come back over to the right side, just observing that the seat bones remain evenly positioned, evenly weighted as you bring your right ear over to the right shoulder. Try not to let your weight roll onto that right seat bone. And on an exhalation, left ear over to the left side, to the left shoulder. Keeping the neck long, keeping the seat bones balanced, stretching out the neck. And then with an exhalation, come back to the centre. So we were laying directly on the floor in Supta Baddha Konasana. I want you to get a bolster. If you haven't got a bolster, you can just use cushions. Get a bolster, and we're going to create a little ramp for our back. So just get your bolster, have a block laying on its edge like this, one on the top edge, and then you create a little ramp like that. Maybe it doesn't feel massively secure, but it will be fine once you are in place. And then grab, if you've got two bolsters, perfect. If you don't have two bolsters, don't worry, just have some cushions underneath your knees. So we're just going to, rather than Supta Baddha Konasana, we're just going to come into this pose, just laying back onto the bolster with something underneath your knees, and then let your head just sit back on the bolster. Again, if you feel like your head is kind of rolling up, if your chin feels like it's higher than your head, then get a blanket, put it over the top of the bolster like this. Oh, my bolster's just fallen over. So once you're there, that bolster will feel more stable. So you can have a blanket for your head like that, which also feels really nice. So just come down onto your bolster with something underneath your knees, and just feel how the bolster on the ramp just gives you space in the lumbar. The lift underneath your knees gives you a little lift, gives you a little space in the lumbar. So just lay back, rest the legs, palms facing upwards on the floor. If it doesn't feel right for your arms, then you can always put some blocks underneath your elbows. So just going back to the pose and the breath. So just observing the sound of the breath, the feeling, the sensations of the inhalation and exhalation. Feel how when the chest is lifted on the bolster that maybe the chest is more open than it was before. Just observe how that brings maybe even a deeper breath. So the first stage of Ujjayi pranayama is just what we've been doing, observing the breath, not trying to control it particularly, just allowing it some observation time. Just listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Just observing the breath as you fill the lungs from the bottom to the top and empty the lungs from the top to the bottom. Breathing into both lungs evenly. So we're going to move into stage 2 of Ujjayi pranayama. And stage 2 is where we continue to focus on normal inhalations. But the exhalation is long, slow, deep and steady until the lungs are empty. So slightly longer, deeper exhalation until the lungs are empty. So we can either do that just on continual cycles of normal in breath, slow, deep, steady exhalation until the lungs are empty, and then continuing in those cycles, or you can do intermittent, where you do one round of Ujjayi and then a few rounds of normal breath, and then another round of Ujjayi and then a few rounds of Ujjayi breath. So either is beneficial, so just choose your approach and take a normal exhalation, a normal inhalation, and then a slow, deep, steady exhalation until the lungs are empty, and then normal inhalation, and then either continual or intermittent cycles. So after a few cycles, perhaps you find a rhythm. Perhaps you feel surprised at the length of the out breath. Maybe not. Just continue observing the breath, observing how the breath feels for you. If the lift doesn't feel right for you today, then just take the bolsters away from underneath the bolster and then bring yourself down onto the bolster without the blocks. So all the time maintaining that focus on inhalations, normal inhalations, and slow, deep and steady exhalations until the lungs are empty. Okay, bringing the breath back to a normal rhythm. Just normal inhalations, normal exhalations. And then when your breath has returned to a normal rhythm, then just bend your knees and just roll yourself off the bolsters. And then bring yourself up into cross legs. Just sitting in cross legs for a moment, just observing your energies, observing how your energy has changed, observing how we bring our energy into the body and harnessing the breath is a really good way to calm the brain, to bring the blood pressure to a manageable level. Okay, so we're just going to go back onto the bolster for the chest, but without anything for the legs. So just come down onto the bolster without any blocks underneath it this time. So just have it flat along the floor and then guide yourself down along the floor, along with the bolster just elevating the chest. And this really opens up the chest and the diaphragm region and the abdomen. So the next stage of Ujjayi, just remember have a blanket underneath your head if your head rolls back. The next stage of Ujjayi pranayama is focusing on normal exhalations and slow, deep and steady inhalations from the bottom of the lungs to the top, and inhaling until the sound of the breath stops, at which point the lungs are full. And then just normal exhalations. Maybe you'll observe that the exhalation is a little longer than usual, but don't try and push it. Just normal exhalations. Breathing in from the bottom of the lungs to the top, observing the rising of the chest, the opening of the chest as you inhale, filling from the bottom to the top until the sound of the breath stops. And then when you exhale, just let the exhalation be natural. So Ujjayi stage 3 is a focus on inhalations. So when you're ready, just take a normal exhalation and then begin either continual cycles or intermittent. So just a normal exhalation first, and then slow, deep, steady inhalation until the lungs are full. Observing the lifting and opening of the chest with each inhalation. So with the exhalation, just let go of the diaphragm, just let the lungs empty. So remember inhaling until the sound of the breath stops. So we're maximizing the inhalation without overworking it. Bringing positive energy into the body through the universal energy that surrounds us. We're filling the lungs with positive energy so that we are full of positive energy, so that our day is full of the energy that we need to sustain us, regardless of whatever else is happening around us. We fuel the body through our pranayama practice with positive energy of the planet, the planet that has a delicate balance of life and fuel to sustain that life. Okay, and then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm state. Just lifted, just stay where you are with the bolster underneath your back, with the legs on the floor. And we'll move into the fourth stage of Ujjayi pranayama, which is a combination of stages 2 and 3, where we focus on slow, deep and steady exhalations until the lungs are empty, and slow, deep and steady inhalations until the lungs are full. So we exhale until the sound of the breath stops. We inhale until the sound of the breath stops. So with all pranayama, we start with an out breath, just a normal out breath, a normal in breath, and then slow, deep, steady exhalation until the lungs are empty. Slow, deep, steady inhalation until the lungs are full. Inhaling from the bottom of the lungs to the top, feeling the chest expand upwards and outwards, giving that access into the breath, allowing the breath to be non-resistant. just finish with an out breath. Just a normal out breath and then a normal in breath, and then bring your breath back to a normal rhythm. When your breath has returned to its normal rhythm, then push your elbows into the floor, lift your chest as you bring yourself up into a cross-leg position. Just stay in cross legs for a moment. Just observe the deep energy that you have released into the head and into the chest, that feeling of positive energy and well-being comes through just making every breath important, every breath a significant moment in your existence. And then just remove a bolster from behind you. Have a blanket folded for your head. Just lay yourself down the centre of your mat. You can put a bolster underneath your knees if you prefer, or just lay yourself down in Shavasana, down along the centre of your mat. Just make sure you're in a good straight line, and if you need to cover yourself over just for warmth, then do. Let the feet fall apart. Just feel the lightness within the body. Just observe how maybe, even though we're no longer on the bolster, the chest feels open, just supported by the floor. Straight line of the floor, realigning the physical body. Just let go of the muscles of the arms and the legs. Feel that feeling of positivity in the limbs, in the head, in the chest, and then use the in-breath and the out-breath to draw that down into the feet, up into the head, into the arms. Just filling the body with the positive energy of the breath. Just focusing on that feeling of positive abundance. Just basking in that feeling of positivity and internal lightness. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Just bring yourself back into this pose of Shavasana. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in the masti. Just a final spinal lift. Draw your breath in through your nose and down into the abdomen, into the somatic region. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning. Good, clean, positive energy that our pranayama practice brings to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Just adjust, bring the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb, a gesture of wisdom and intelligence that we can carry into our day. Symbol of peacefulness that we can carry into our day. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you've really lifted your energy, giving yourself some good positive energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.